Welcome to the NASCAR Field Filler Podcast, where you can get the latest results, fantasy picks, and news every week in the NASCAR racing world. We just got one more spot left to fill, so let's give it to our host. Here he is, Vanilla Wafers. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the back of the field. This is Vanilla Wafers, and thank you for tuning in to the Field Filler Podcast. We are now at race number 22 for the 2022 season here for the Cup Series, which means NASCAR makes the return to the Indianapolis road course, the least loved crown jewel event in the NASCAR Cup Series. There are 4 crown jewel events, or 5 depending on who you ask. There's the biggest one, which is the Daytona 500, the longest one, which is the Coca-Cola 600, then the oldest one, which is the Southern 500, the fastest one, which is Talladega, that's the questionable one, and then the richest one, the Brickyard 400, or in this case now, it is now the Brickyard 200, and a lot of people give this race a lot of slack. I mean, there was a reason why they moved it to the road course, because the oval race used to be one of the most boring races, and then they're just like, hey, let's do the road course, that can't be possibly worse, and then we had a curbing issue last year, and it destroyed half the field. But we can be optimistic about this weekend. Let's just hope that the racetrack stays in one piece, and let's hope it's nothing similar to Road America or maybe Sonoma. I know the road courses have been really hit and miss this year. It's either a home run like the Circuit of the America, or it hits the batter. Like, there's no in between with road courses this year. But we can be optimistic. Circuit of the Americas is more set up like the Indianapolis road course, and the fact that it's a flat racetrack. So we can be optimistic. Maybe we'll get some good racing. But either way, we got to figure out our fantasy picks for this weekend. We have 38 drivers entered into this race. Yes, I said 38, as we had 2 open charter teams enter into this race. We will talk about them in a bit. But before we dive into our fantasy picks here for this weekend, why don't we first look at a little bit of news that has happened here this week in the NASCAR racing world. Some bigger news, maybe not as big as last week where we had like contract announcements, but still some worth mentioning. The first one being the situation involving the number 45 driver of Kurt Busch. Now, as you guys are aware, last weekend during a qualifying session, Kurt Busch hit the wall and then was not medically cleared for that race. Well, it turns out he just went to his doctor once again, and he's still not cleared, as he is still suffering from concussion-like symptoms, and they are going to have Ty Gibbs return to the number 45 car this weekend. Now, last weekend at Pocono, we thought to ourselves, let's hope Ty Gibbs does adequate in that race. This race, however, he could do potentially really well. I mean, remember, his first ever Xfinity Series start was at the Daytona Road Course, and he won that race. Now, obviously, we can't compare the Daytona Road Course to the Indianapolis Road Course, but I mean, that says a lot, because Ty Gibbs is a really good road course racer. I mean, the amount of competition he had at Road America with Kyle Larson was tremendous, and he was still able to edge him out. So I'm kind of intrigued on what he can do in that number 45 machine. I'm hoping that Kurt Busch gets better soon so he can at least compete for the playoffs, because he does have a victory, and I don't think they will take away his opportunity to run in the playoffs because he is suffering from concussion-like symptoms. But we shall see. In the meantime, though, Ty Gibbs will sub for Kurt Busch once again this weekend at Indianapolis. The next bit of news that we're going to talk about came on July 27th regarding the Truck Series. Their title sponsorship, Camping World, will not be returning in the 2023 season, as their contract will end. And as far as what the CEO says, he says his time being a sponsor is done after 14 years and over 30 race entitlements. They need to lower their budget on the marketing side, as they are trying to put money into their people as well as their business, which is very unfortunate, because I think Camping World was a great sponsorship here for the Truck Series, as Marcus Lemonis, who is the CEO of Camping World, was just a huge partner with the sport. He was very interactive, something you can extremely appreciate, but we understand he is a businessman, and he doesn't have nearly as much money in the marketing department like he has in the past, so he's obviously going to be moving on from that. But the question is, what will be the title sponsorship now moving forward into the 2023 season? It looks like one of the front runners is going to be Craftsman, so the Truck Series could be known as the Craftsman Truck Series once again, which would be a great little callback there, as they were the sponsorship from 1996 all the way through 2008. There's also some other sponsorships in talk. I mean, Craftsman is the one who's the leading candidate. I don't know who the others are, but if I had a choice to pick the title sponsorship here for the Truck Series, I would go with one title sponsor that's already affiliated with the Modifieds, but I feel like it would work really well with the Truck Series, and that is Featherlight Trailers, seeing the Featherlight Truck Series. And the reason why I picked that is because, truck and trailers go hand in hand with each other. That's why Camping World works so well. But you know what? Craftsman Trucks, that callback is going to be really great at the same times. But either way, Camping World will end their Truck Series sponsorship after the 2022 season. Marcus Lemanis, as well as Camping World, thank you so much for your support that you've had with the Truck Series for over 14 years. Some other bit of news to talk about is involving William Byron. Speaking of truck and trailers, William Byron's hauler caught fire at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Yep, you heard me right. The number 24 team was transferring one of their race cars on Thursday when the trailer caught on fire. A lot of people say it was due to a generator, as there was a lot of damage involving the trailer, but the one thing that did not get any damage was the race car. So the race car was saved. They're letting it stay in one of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway garage stalls. None of the other cars can go in there, but for the situation with William Byron, they obviously need to move it somewhere else. And the 24 team will bring in a new trailer in the meantime. Now, I don't know about you guys, but hasn't this been happening quite frequently lately with the truck and trailers for the NASCAR series? I mean, I don't know about you, but I think this is like the fourth incident we've had a problem with a truck and trailer. It wouldn't be the same thing compared to this. I mean, this is a fire incident. We don't see too much of that, but we've seen incidents where trucks have gotten into accidents, trucks have been messed with, all that stuff, and I feel like lately that's been really common. I could be 100% wrong, but now seeing another Cup Series trailer catch on fire, that's just absolutely crazy. I don't know what else to say except, damn, they are sure lucky that 24 car did not catch on fire and cause any damage with that car. So if that car gets a victory, that is going to be one badass diecast winning car right there, because they're going to have to add a little bit of scoldering heat on that paint scheme, which I wouldn't mind that much. I really wouldn't. Next bit of news is regarding Joey Logano. Looks like Joey Logano is close to having a contract extension with Team Penske soon. This one is not really a surprise to me. It looks like Joey Logano really appreciates this team, and this is his home. This has to be his home. I mean, he was with Joe Gibbs Racing, one of the best teams, and he really struggled with that team, but moving on over to Penske, it was just a great relationship from the get-go. He's done absolutely great. So if he gets a contract extension, I will not be mad about that at all. Him and that number 22 car has worked wonders for him for years. I mean, he's already gotten a championship with the team, so if he gets a contract extension, I will not be surprised. And the last bit of news I want to talk about is the Indianapolis Cup race. A lot of people were talking about whether or not it would move back to the oval. And a lot of people are really advocating for that. Bring back the oval, Brickyard 400. We don't need another road course. We need it to be a crown jewel. Well, unfortunately for those fans, Roger Penske has made the announcement that they will return to the road course next season. However, they are considering the oval in 2024. Not surprised by this. Really not surprised by this at all. I mean, a lot of people forget how boring the oval races was the last few years that they ran on the oval, because I think there was one year where they only had 4 passes for the lead. It was just crazy bad of a race. And the track wasn't really set up for NASCARs. It was set up for Indy cars. Now, with the new packages coming in, maybe they can make some adjustments. I mean, we've seen how great the next-gen car has been at intermediate tracks. They put on some great showings. I think Michigan will be a pretty interesting one to watch here coming up in the coming weeks. But for them to not be on the oval yet, yes, I understand the frustration with that, and it kind of takes away the excitement of the racetrack. But I think the road course needs another chance. It had a shitty inaugural race. Like, make no mistake on that. The curbs screwed up the race so bad. I'm hoping that this race, though, is a little bit exciting. I mean, remember the Xfinity Series race, the first race they had on the road course for the NASCAR Series? That was a badass race. So let's not give up on the road course yet. But I wouldn't mind at the same time if they do return back to the oval if they make a package exciting to watch during this race. That's all I'll say about that. But I just want fans to remember who really want the oval back. Remember, if they don't have a plan, they could be going back to those boring-ass races which we hated, and why there's so little fans out in the stands at Brickyard. I mean, they said they had 100,000 last year, and that entire racetrack can fit 250,000. That always looks atrocious when you see that little of fans filling up those stands. fans. So hopefully they can fill that out, 1, and 2, they can have a package for the oval track that will be exciting for the fans as well as the drivers. And that is this week's bit of news in the NASCAR racing world. Not nearly as big as news like the last couple of weeks, like I said earlier, but still newsworthy. I'm hoping that we see the announcement of the 2023 schedule here in the next coming weeks. They said the latest it will be is 4 weeks from now. More than likely, it's going to be 4 weeks from now, but at least we can be excited about that, and we'll see if we get any contract extensions or new contracts signed here shortly. I know Richard Childress Racing is going to make an announcement on August 2nd, so we'll make sure to keep our eyes out on that, and hopefully we can announce it on the next episode. But of course, we got to focus on this weekend, and what is this weekend? Fantasy picks for the Indianapolis road course. We got to figure out which drivers we're going to use in this race. We're down to our last few picks of every single driver, so we got to be really smart on when we use each driver. This weekend is going to be kind of an interesting one because the road courses have really shaken things up for drivers and teams. So without further ado, let's dive into it. This is this weekend's top fantasy picks at the Indianapolis road course. Alrighty guys, so we talk about every single driver on the entry list here for this weekend. We will first start off with our top picks, drivers who I personally believe who will be scoring the most points here this weekend as well as running for the victory. And then we will talk about the other 7 drivers who I feel like will be in top 10. So these are good drivers to use as your 2nd through 5th picks. And then we'll talk about a few drivers to take a gamble on. This is usually 5 drivers. We may add an extra one here on drivers you might want to gamble on here this weekend. And then we'll cover the drivers who we should hit the brakes on this weekend, and we'll explain on each driver why they wouldn't be a good option here at the Indianapolis road course. Let's first start off with the top dogs. First one being the number 1 of Ross Chastain. Now, we've said it almost every single race this year. Ross Chastain, he's a front runner. But the one type of racetracks he's been especially good at has been the road courses. I mean, he got a victory at Circuit of the America. He was very impressive in that race. He also ran really well at Sonoma. He finished 7th. Road America, he was right up there in the top 5. I do believe he finished 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. He has just been a front runner in all these races. Trackhouse has gotten their road course program really figured out. And if you only got a couple picks left for Ross Chastain, I mean, just look at the next few races and think, which race is he going to do the best at? I'm looking at Michigan. I'm thinking that race is going to go to a Ford team. Maybe another Chevy team, but more than likely the Fords are going to dominate that race. Richmond, definitely Toyotas. Toyotas just dominate Richmond. There's just no other way to look at it. Watkins Glen, that could be another good race for him. He's finished really well there, ran there well with Chip Ganassi. Daytona, it's a crapshoot. Yes, he's good at restrictor plate races, but do you really want to rely and use your last pick for Ross Chastain at Daytona? I wouldn't. I mean, he's going to be involved in 2 accidents already. The question is if he's going to be there at the finish or not. If he's going to be there at the finish, yeah, maybe he'll finish in the top 5 or maybe even get the victory, but he has to make it to the finish. I feel like the safest race for him is going to be here at the Indianapolis road course. He's going to finish near the front. Trackhouse Racing just brings the right equipment, and I don't think you're going to have a bad pick here when it comes to the number 1 machine here at the Indianapolis road course. Ross Chastain, easily a number 1 pick. Another number 1 pick that you should consider is going to be the number 5 of Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson has become a road course racer. He has done really well in the last couple of years. I mean, 2021, he almost won every single road course race. He won Watkins Glen. He won the Charlotte Roval. He won Sonoma. He finished 3rd at the Indianapolis road course last year. Road America this year, he finished 3rd. Sonoma, he could have won that race again if he didn't have that tire fell off. He still led 26 laps. So he's going to be running near the front. I think if you're going to rely on Kyle Larson for any types of races here coming up, you're probably going to use him for Michigan, but if you don't want to use him for Michigan, then stay with him at the road course. He's proven that he is a front runner at these races. He's going to be running for the victory here this weekend. I would be very surprised if he doesn't lead a lap or a couple laps here in this race. Kyle Larson, he's right there with Ross Chastain, and he's going to be running near the front, competing for the victory. Another person that's going to be competing for the victory is his teammate, the number 9 of Chase Elliott. Do we really need to explain anymore why we're going to have Chase Elliott here at a road course? What do you mean we're going to have Chase Elliott? Why would we use him at a road course? Really? We're going to ask that question. All right, let's look at it. His worst finish in the last 10 road course races has been a 12th place, and that was at the Charlotte Roval. He won the Charlotte Roval 2 years ago. He was able to win Watkins Glen the last 2 out of 3 times. He won the Daytona Road Course. He won Road America, finished 2nd this year. He finished 4th at the last race here at the Indianapolis Road Course. He's just damn good. He's going to be running up front. You don't need to even argue it. He's the safest pick, I think, out of anybody here. So if you have 2 picks left, well done. You're using them at both the road courses. So those are your top picks. These are your number 1, number 2 picks here for this weekend. We got the number 1 of Ross Chastain, the number 5 of Kyle Larson, and of course, the number 9 of Chase Elliott. Okay, so I don't think anyone was really that surprised by those fantasy picks. Wow, Vanilla Wafers, you really were risky with those top picks. Ross Chastain and Chase Elliott as top picks? Very interesting of you. Well, okay, I admit those were low-hanging fruit, but the rest of the top 10 picks are going to be pretty interesting to say the least, because I'm looking at these top 10 drivers, and holy crap, this is going to really shake things up, and I'm really hoping you save some of these drivers here for road course races, and you should consider saving some other drivers that you've used up, because these drivers you're not using every single race. Let's first start off with one you probably have used quite a few times. That's going to be a front runner. I think he's going to be finishing probably in the top 3, maybe even could be competing in the victory, but he's going to have to beat the Chevrolets, which is going to be really difficult. How about the number 12 of Ryan Blaney? Ryan Blaney is known for the fast racetrack, so definitely save him for the Michigan race. I think he can get his first victory there if he doesn't get it here at the Indianapolis road course. He's really fast at those racetracks, but looking here at the road courses as well, his worst finish in the last few road courses has been a 14th place finish, and that was at Watkins Glen. He usually finishes in the top 10, and then most recently here at the Indianapolis road course, he finished 2nd. 11th at Road America, 6th at Sonoma, 6th at Circuit of the America, led a few laps in the Road America race. Ryan Blaney is actually a really decent pick. I wouldn't consider him a number 1 or number 2 pick, but definitely a really solid number 3 pick. If you only have 1 pick left for him, I don't know, maybe save him for Michigan. But if you have a couple picks, maybe use him here in the Indianapolis road course race. He's probably going to be running up front and could get a solid top 5 finish here with the other Chevrolets. Another driver you need to consider, hands down, is going to be the number 8 of Tyler Reddick. With that win at Road America, which was super impressive, he just shot himself up in fantasy value when it comes to road courses. I mean, Tyler Reddick's having a stellar year. It was a matter of when, not if, he was going to get a win this year. Well, I was just pretty surprised it came at a road course. I was really thinking it was going to be at a mile-and-a-half track. But at the same time, I shouldn't be that surprised because his finishes at road courses have been really impressive here in the last couple of races. I mean, he had that victory at Road America. He had a 5th place finish at Circuit of the Americas. The Charlotte Roval, he finished 2nd. He had a top 10 finish at Watkins Glen. Yes, there was a rough finish at Sonoma, but, you know, Sonoma is a little bit of a kind of a odd road course compared to these other ones. It's a little different. We're not going to lie. It's a different road course compared to these ones. It's more elevated and then it goes downhill. These other ones are a little bit more flat, and that is one thing that Tyler Reddick really likes, is flat road courses. He's led laps in multiple road course events. I think he's going to be running around the top 10. Could be potentially running for the victory. He's the same spot as Ryan Blaney. I feel like there's going to be some other drivers running better than him, but scoring a few stage points possibly. We'll see how the pit strategies go, but I think he's going to be running near the front in the end, and I think he's another solid number 3 pick here for fantasy rosters. Driver who I know is going to do really good in this race is going to be the number 2 of Austin Cindric. Austin Cindric may be a rookie, but one thing's for sure, we know he's going to be a front runner when it comes to road course races. This year at road courses, he has finished 8th at Circuit of the Americas, 5th at Sonoma, 7th at Road America, and then last year, when he was running a part-time schedule, he finished 9th at the Indianapolis road course. Great runs for him, and definitely a solid pick. I know he's been more of a riskier pick for you guys, and trust me, he's let us down here and there. We're not going to lie. I mean, Pocono was a bit of a bummer for sure. I thought he was going to do pretty decent in that race, and then right on when the green flag dropped, he ran into some problems. It was like, what the hell? But at road courses, we really don't expect that much out of the number 2 machine, and the way he ran here in the Xfinity Series a couple years back, how he ran last year at this track, and the way he's running this year when it comes to road courses, could be potentially getting his second win here in the 2022 season. I think he's similar to the other drivers I mentioned. He's still right here in this mix at number 3, maybe even number 2 pick. either way, I think he's a great substitute for some drivers you've used a lot more, because I really feel like he's going to run solidly in the top 7 the entire race. So another good pick right there is the number 2 of Austin Cindric. And we can't keep off Ross Chastain's teammate, the number 99 of Daniel Suarez, as he has just been dominant when it comes to road courses, even in his first year with Trackhouse Racing. Yes, the finishes did not look too appealing to the eye, but let me tell you, he ran good in all those races. He just ran to some of the weirdest mechanical problems. This year, that hasn't been the case. Got a victory at Sonoma, led 47 laps. Circuit of the America led 15 laps. Unfortunately, I think he ran into a pit strategy and also got taken out on the racetrack too. Still, for him to able to recover and finish almost close to the top 20 is actually pretty impressive by the amount of hell he went through in that race. Finished 5th at Road America. He's also ran really well at Watkins Glen when he was racing with Joe Gibbs Racing. He's just a good road course racer, and he's going to run really well in this race. If Ross Chastain is going to run good, then Daniel Suarez is going to be right there with him. I'm hoping that maybe Daniel Suarez can get the upper edge on his teammate, because obviously Ross Chastain is the better car out of the two at Trackhouse Racing. But either way, number 2 pick for fantasy rosters when it comes to this weekend at the Indianapolis Road Course, just with a little bit of risk. You got to take that into consideration. Do remember that Daniel Suarez may be running towards the front. We just got to see if he can finish. Most of the time he does, but when he doesn't, it's usually outside the top 20. So just keep that one in mind. But still, Daniel Suarez, he's going to do good here at the Indianapolis Road Course race, as well as the number 17 of Chris Buescher. I never thought Chris Buescher would be a road course worthy fantasy pick, but he's definitely shown it this year. His finishes have been really good. I mean, Sonoma was a really impressive one, and he also did good at Road America, so I think it's safe to say that he's going to run in the top 10 here in this race, and could be a great substitute for some drivers that you have used one too many times, or you have 0 picks on. Let's say you've used up Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson. Well, crap. Who am I going to use as a good substitute who could get even remotely close to him that maybe I haven't used too much of? Well, Chris Buescher, I think, is a really good option. I mean, like I said, his last couple of finishes, 6th at Road America, 2nd at Sonoma. Circuit of the Americas was not really a good finish for him, but, I mean, it's leaps and bounds for the most recent races. If it was the opposite way, then maybe I'd say maybe he'd take a gamble, but that's not the case. I think Chris Buescher's going to run really well in this race. I think he's more of a number 4 pick. I don't think he's going to be running for the victory similar to the other drivers we just mentioned, but I still think he's going to be a good, solid top 10 runner in this race. The 17 car, definitely someone you should consider as a top 10 fantasy pick here at the Indianapolis Road Course, as well as last year's winner, the number 16 of AJ Allmendinger. Of course I couldn't keep AJ Allmendinger off the top 10 list. He's just too damn good here at the road courses. I mean, if he's not dominating the road course races in the Xfinity Series, which he does every single time, he's a front runner in the Cup Series one. There's a reason why he won this race last year. He's just a spectacular road course racer, and he's even shown it this year that he's had some really good finishes. I mean, running for the victory there near the end of Circuit of the Americas. Yes, he finished 33rd, but how much can you blame him for that? He was just pushing it to the absolute edge to get that victory. Sonoma was a rough race. I'm not going to lie, that was a brutal one. But again, it's an odd comparison to the other road course races. A 9th place finish at Road America. Is he going to get another win here this weekend? I don't know. I think a lot of things have to go in his favor once again. Is he going to be running in the top 10? Most definitely. A number 3, number 4 pick for this number 16 machine. And let's wrap up the top 10 with a driver who's been scoring the most surprising top 10s this year and showing a lot of consistency. The number 34 of Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell's worst finish this year at road courses is a 13th place finish. Sonoma, he finished 3rd. Road America, he finished 8th. And then this weekend, if he stays out of trouble, he's going to finish in the top 8 once again. I think Michael McDowell's a great driver as well to substitute some of your picks that you don't have any more on, or only have one left that you feel like he's going to do better at another race. If you only have one pick for, let's say, someone like Ryan Blaney, who could probably do better at Michigan, or you think Daniel Suarez is going to do better at Watkins Glen, you only got one pick left for him, or say one with the Rick Hendrick drivers, like you think Kyle Larson's going to dominate at Watkins Glen, maybe not here. A good substitute will be that number 34, Michael McDowell, and he's going to be a safer pick for sure. I mean, the consistency has been there all this summer stretch. It's been really impressive. Well, maybe not all summer stretch. There were some races that were rough, like New Hampshire, but this is obviously not a 1-mile racetrack. This is a road course, and one thing Michael McDowell has always done well at is the road courses. So those are your top top 10 picks, drivers that you want to consider as your second, third, fourth, maybe even fifth pick. We got the number 2 of Austin Cindric, the number 8 of Tyler Reddick, the number 12 of Ryan Blaney, the number 16 of AJ Allmendinger, the number 17 of Chris Buescher, the number 34 of Michael McDowell, and the number 99 of Daniel Suarez. Alrighty, you degenerate gamblers, now it is time to look at some drivers you might want to take a gamble on here this weekend. These will be drivers you want as your fifth or garage pick here for this weekend. We got some interesting ones here for sure. The first one I'm going to share has been someone who has led quite a bit of laps here in these road course races, but the finishes have not quite been there. He just has to piece it all together, and that is the number 24 of William Byron. Now, I'm not going for William Byron just because of the fact that I'm a huge 24 fan, or they got a fire on his trailer and now that may put a fire under his ass and they may get a good solid finish. No, it's not that. I know the risk with the number 24 car. His finishes have been outside the top 10 or sometimes outside the top 20 when he should have been inside the top 5. I mean, he's only got one top 10 so far, and that was the 9th place finish at Sonoma. Circuit of the Americas, he finished 12th, Road America 16th, so not quite there. Why do I consider him in this one? It's because of how well he qualified in the Indianapolis road course last year, and he was running near the front, near the end, except for the curbs took him out. The Charlotte Roval, he's ran really well in those races. The fact that he hasn't finished in the top 3 has been a huge shocker in my personal opinion for that 2014. I say you have him as a garage pick for this weekend, just for the simple fact that the finishes have not been there. He could be taking gambles and could be going for stage wins. If he's right around in that 12th or 13th position, why not get some stage points? Why not get some playoff points? And he could potentially be in that spot here for this weekend. But of course, that is only if he's going to be in that position. If he's not right in that position, if he's like 9th or 10th, maybe even 11th, and he decides to go down pit road just to try to stay with strategy for the race, yeah, maybe keep him on the garage and sit him out for this weekend. But still worth the gamble just for the simple fact that his partners are Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott, and Hendrick Motorsports has just had speed at road courses the last few years. Another driver to take a gamble on will be the number 4 of Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick's going to be more of a kind of a safety net driver, so I'd say like a 5th or maybe even garage pick, as his finishes have not been anything too stunning at road courses, but they've been in a spot where it's deemed, okay, maybe that's a good driver to have in my 5th spot. He can give me a solid 27 points. I mean, I wouldn't want that for my 1st or 2nd pick, but for my 5th pick, 27 points is doable to stay near the top 3 here in this league. And Kevin Harvick, he has shown that he's a consistent driver. 4th at Sonoma was really good. Circuit of the Americas, he finished 11th. Road America, he was able to finish in the top 10. He finished 14th in the Indianapolis road course race last year. And even at the Daytona road course in Watkins Glen, 6th place finish, 8th place finish. He's pretty consistent. He's just not going to be running for the victory. So that's what you'll consider Kevin Harvick. He's more of a safety net driver than more of a driver who could be a sneaky one in the pocket that will be running in the top 3, running for the victory. Another driver to take a gamble on will be the number 14 of Chase Briscoe. Now, I know a lot of people saying, gosh, he's such a good road course racer. Why do you keep putting him in the take a chance category? Well, he's very inconsistent with his finishes. He has not finished in the top 10 once yet here this season at a road course, which is unbelievable to me. Just reading that statistic just absolutely shocks me, but it's true. He led 2 laps at Circuit of the Americas, running near the front. He finished 30th in that race. Sonoma, he finished 13th, not really running near the front. I don't know what happened there. Road America led 4 laps, finished 14th. It's just been an odd year for him when it comes to road courses. He's going to run well, yes, there's no doubt in that. It's just if he could finish. Keep him in your garage area. If you put him on your fantasy roster, totally get it. I don't think it's a horrible decision. I mean, he won at the Xfinity debut here at the Indianapolis road course race. He's just got to repeat his success. Now, the only reason why I lean more towards keeping him on your fantasy roster rather than sitting him out is just for the simple fact that he ran so good here in the Cup race last year. He was just one turn and one spin out of a Denny Hamlin from winning that race. Let's just go with that one. So Chase Briscoe, a driver you want to take a gamble on. You're going to keep him in your garage area just to see if he's able to get the stage points and at least finish the race. Now, here's a driver you don't hear too often, especially this year. How about the number 3 of Austin Dillon? Is he worth a fantasy pick here this weekend and worth taking a gamble on. I mean, he's right there with Kevin Harvick, just a couple steps off, as he has been consistently finishing between 10th and 13th. So he is that driver that you're going to fall back on kind of a safety net. Now, there was a rough finish at Road America where he had mechanical problems. How much can you blame that on him? I don't really know. I wouldn't say that was entirely his fault. It happens because Tyler Reddick was running really good. Richard Childress Racing has some decent road course cars this year for both the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. So he's in the same spot as Kevin Harvick. He's going to be your safety net. You got to see how he's running. He could get some stage points. He could be in a position where he's running 14th or 15th, decides to stay out and get some stage points here and there. He could potentially be in that spot. Who knows? We shall see. But he's going to stay in your garage pick similar to Kevin Harvick, and you're going to keep an eye on the rest of your roster and see if you want to substitute him in as a 5th pick at best. And the last person you want to take a gamble on here this weekend will be the number 43 of Eric Jones. Yes, that's right. Eric Jones with Petty GMS Racing is a driver you may want to take a gamble on here this weekend. Now, when it comes to Eric Jones, he may not be the driver you automatically think of when it comes to road courses. Believe me, I totally get that. So why am I including him here? Well, when it comes to the flat road courses, the elevated road courses and the declining ones, and the finishes have been wishy-washy. Sonoma, not a good finish. Road America, and not really a good finish there either. But what about the flat ones? Circuit of the Americas, fairly flat racetrack. He finished 9th. The Indy Road Course last year, he finished 7th. The Charlotte Roval, he was able to finish 3rd in 2020 and 4th at Watkins Glen, as well as a 5th before that in 2019 and 2018. I almost said 2020, but they haven't raced there in the 2020 season. So I think Eric Jones is going to be a driver that you might want to take a chance on, just for the simple fact that when it comes to these type of road courses, he can run fairly well, and he needs to definitely recover from that penalty that he received from Pocono. They're in a must-win situation, but either way, they're still going to be trying to get as much points as possible, and I think that's very important for a team right now that's doing everything they can to try to make it into the playoffs. Score as many points as you can, and if you get the victory behind it, awesome. But for now, just focus on getting as much points as you possibly can as a driver and a team. And I feel like that's where Eric Jones is going to be here this weekend. And not only that, I think he's going to be running around the top 10, maybe in the top 12, and could be a good 5th pick if one of your drivers falls off and has some bad luck in the middle of the race. So those are the 5 drivers you might want to gamble on here this weekend. We got the number 3 of Austin Dillon, the number 4 of Kevin Harvick, the number 14 of Chase Briscoe, the number 24 of William Byron, and the number 43 of Eric Jones. So we've talked about the 15 drivers you want to consider putting on your fantasy roster here this weekend. Well, why don't we talk about the other 23 drivers you want to avoid here this weekend and hit the brakes on them. We're going to go from the lowest number on up. First, starting off with the number 6 of Brad Keselowski. As his teammate may be good fantasy value here this weekend, I think he can run in the top 10. Brad Keselowski, however, just hasn't really been there with that number 6 car. Even when the number 2 car, he wasn't really that great when it came to road courses. Most of his finishes have been outside the top 10 this year. The only top 10 he's had at a road course was Sonoma, 14th at Circuit of the Americas, 33rd at Road America, as those finishes may be adequate at best. They're not fantasy value, so you're going to keep the number 6 car off this weekend. The number 7 of Corey LaJoie, yes, his finishes are getting slightly better, but you know what? You're still looking at his finishes at road courses. That's the one thing that's not getting better. So Corey LaJoie is not a good option when it comes to road courses. Eric Almirola in the number 10. He might be returning next year. That's the craziest bit of news. I did not think that he would be someone who's like, nope, never mind. I'm not going to retire. I'm going to come back for another year. But one thing he is not coming back from retirement for is going to be road course races, because that number 10 car usually does not finish near the front at these races. Best finish in the last couple years was a 12th place finish at Watkins Glen. Yeah, that is definitely not fantasy value. The number 11 of Denny Hamlin. In fact, I could probably include all the Toyota cars right here, as Toyota just does not have fast race cars at road courses. It has been atrocious for the Toyota camp. If you're going to trust one Toyota here this weekend, maybe the number 11 of Denny Hamlin, just by how well he ran last year, but it's a completely different car. It's a completely different car. They have shown that they are not at the same level as the Chevrolets and Fords. Kyle Busch, no, we're not going to be including him. The only one that I would consider Kyle Busch for when it comes to road courses is Watkins Glen, as well as Martin Truex Jr., but this race, no. I just don't feel comfortable including any of the Toyota cars, so we'll include them all right here. Number 11, number 18, number 19, number 20, number 23, and the number 45. Even though Ty Gibbs is really good at road courses, those Toyotas have just been off. We're hitting the brakes on all of them. If Ty Gibbs happens to be in this car for multiple weeks, which I hope isn't the case, and he does really well in this race, then we'll consider him at Watkins Glen, but I think it's just way too early to start throwing the number 45 car, Ty Gibbs, on your fantasy roster, as well as any of the other Toyotas. The number 15 of Joey Hand. He's going to try to go for another top 20, which would be very impressive for him, but for now, you're keeping him off your fantasy list because Rick Fair Racing just doesn't have top 10 equipment, which means not worth the fantasy value. Now let's move on down to the number 21 of Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton, his finishes are getting better. His finishes are absolutely getting better, but a best finish is 17th at a road course this year. Yeah, he's staying off for fantasy rosters, hitting the brake on him. The number 22 of Joey Logano. Yes, you're going to have Ryan Blaney on your fantasy roster. Yes, you're going to have Austin Cindric. But Joey Logano, the only one that I feel comfortable when it comes to road course races is the Charlotte Roval. Other than that, maybe the Daytona road course, but we don't race on that track anymore. His best finish has really been like a 17th place. He's not good at road courses. Just one or two of them, and that is about it. If it's a Roval, then yes, but this is not really a Roval. This is its own road course. So Joey Logano, yeah, we're hitting the brakes on you. The number 26 machine. So I'm not going to lie. I'm having a hard time pronouncing this man's name. Is it Daniel Kvyat? I just had him as Formula One guy. I'm sorry. That's so messed up of me. Oh, yeah, Formula One guy, yeah, for the number 26 team. So I think it's pronounced Daniel Kvyat. I do believe that's how you say it. And it's really exciting to see a Formula One driver running in NASCAR road course races. I think we're going to have Kimi Räikkönen at the Watkins Glen race, which is going to be just cool to see as well. But I don't really expect much out of Daniel here in this race, as Team Hesseberg, they just haven't been running near the front. It's been cool seeing them out on the racetrack, but they haven't been running near the front, so don't expect too much out of the number 26 of Danielle, as well as the number 27 of Loris Hesselmans. The number 31 of Justin Haley, he's been making some improvements at road course races, but if I'm going to pick any college racing car, it's going to be the number 16 of AJ Allmendinger. AJ Allmendinger could possibly get the top 10, I think. For the number 31 of Justin Haley, he can probably get a top 15, but still sitting on the outside as far as fantasy value goes. The number 38 of Todd Gilliland, he's good at road course races. We've seen him do it down the Truck Series, but still, the rookie is still trying to figure out the Cup Series, so I don't think he's going to be finishing near the front in this race. Could potentially get a top 20, but top 20 is the absolute max I see out of that number 38 car. The number 41 of Cole Custer, just struggling like crazy. More than likely, we're probably going to see Kyle Busch in that car next year. That's been the biggest rumor going on right now. So Cole Custer, he's in a bad spot, and I don't think he's going to really improve it here this weekend in that number 41 car. Ty Dillon's in the similar spot, except he knows he's missing out on his ride. So Ty Dillon is not a good fantasy value here for this weekend. The number 47 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., his finishes have been slightly improving at road courses, it looks like, but still not to the point where we want him as a 5th or 6th pick on your fantasy rosters. He's going to probably be at best finishing with a top 15, maybe up to 13th place, but that's about it for the number 47 car. And then we got the number 48 of Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman is a driver that we're going to use as far as road courses go for the Charlotte Roval, maybe Circuit of the Americas, and possibly Watkins Glen. Other road course races? Nah, not really. Well, I don't expect too much out of Alex Bowman here this weekend, as I feel like he's going to be the 4th car this weekend in Hendrick Motorsports. I know we usually say a lot that he's the 4th car on this team, but he's definitely going to show it in performance, as you're going to have Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott running up front, William Byron running around the top 10, and then Alex Bowman probably running around the top 20. Then we move down to the number 51 of Cody Ware. Cody Ware is struggling still at road courses, just trying to finish races right now, and just not fantasy value. Same with the number 77 of Josh Bilicki, as well as the number 78 of Josh Williams. As it's great to see see him running some cup races here. That's why he moved on over to BJ MacLeod Racing to get some opportunities with Live Fast Motorsports. I just don't expect a great finish out of him. His goal is just to finish the race, as well as Josh Bilicki in the number 77. So all the drivers I just mentioned, starting with the number 6 of Brad Keselowski, going on through all the way to the number 78 of Josh Williams, I think Kyle Petty would agree with me and say that these are drivers you want to hit the brakes on here this weekend.
What the f*** has Kyle Petty got to do with this?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, will be our fantasy picks here for this weekend. Don't forget to update your fantasy lineup before this Sunday on July 31st at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. The race will be on NBC. And that will conclude the final segment of today's episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening. This Indianapolis road course race should be a pretty interesting one. Like I said, let's just pray that they don't have any problems with the racetrack. I feel like incidents involving the racetrack itself and not the drivers is always one of the worst things to experience. I mean, last year, it just destroyed the road course race. But I'm pretty sure they got it figured out this year. I mean, they're probably on their asses. Roger Penske's just like, I swear we got this fixed. So let's just hope for that. If you do want to follow me on social media, you can do so at TikTok, YouTube, or Twitter. TikTok is at VanillaWafers44, where I post daily NASCAR videos. YouTube is at Vanilla Wafers, where I'm going to be posting some longer YouTube videos. I got one in the works right now. It's going to be talking about the 2012 Rookie of the Year battle. One of the worst rookie battles I have ever experienced, and I think NASCAR has as a whole. And then on Twitter, you can follow me at TylerV33, or you can look me up at NASCAR Field Fillers or Vanilla Wafers. I pop up either way. Good place to interact with me on those as I try to answer as many of you guys as possible. It's so crazy to just think how many fans are asking me questions on all the episodes and also directly on messages. It's always really cool to see that. One of the biggest questions I heard from multiple people, I think I just heard one just recently as today, was when is the next race I'm going to be going to? And unfortunately, I don't know if I'm going to another race this year. It's just been unbelievable bad luck for me. Every time I have a race coming up that I want to go to, another event happens, and it's like one of those events that you can't miss. It's just like, oh man, I'm going to go to the Sonoma race. Oh, my brother's graduating. Can't miss that. That would kind of suck. Okay, I'm going to go to this other one. Oh, I got a celebration of life with a family member. Definitely can't miss that one. So it is what it is. Hopefully next year we get some more races that I can attend to so I can see you guys in person, because that's one of the coolest things, is to be able to see you guys and be able to interact with you, because yeah, I can interact with you on a screen and answer some questions, but meeting you in person, that's a whole new experience. So thank you guys so much for listening to every single episode and reaching out to me and talking to me. It's one of the coolest things in the world, and I do greatly appreciate it. But most importantly, guys, thank you so much for listening to the best and trying out all the rest. I have been able to fill up the last few remaining minutes of your time, so I'm going to take the car and pull it right on into pit road, collect my last place winnings, and I am out. So you all take care. This has been the Field Filler Podcast.